Hey there, time traveler. Whether you're curled up under a blanket at 3 a.m. or sneaking a listen during a lunch break, I'm thrilled you're here. Take a second, drop a comment below. Tell me where you're tuning in from and what time it is. Is it midnight in New York? Noon in Tokyo? Are you walking a dog or hiding from a Zoom call? No judgment, you're safe with me. Now, dim the lights, find that perfect pillow angle, the one that takes 10 minutes to get right and collapses in 4 seconds, and let's saddle up. We're not trudging through a medieval village tonight. Nope, we're riding into the Wild West, 1870s, where the sun burns hotter than a bad decision and the horizon promises freedom, danger, and a whole lot of dust. Picture this, a land so wide it feels like the earth is flexing its muscles, daring you to cross it. The sky's a deep, endless blue, broken only by a vulture circling like it's got your number. This is the Wild West, 1876, Texas, a place where dreams are as vast as the prairies and just as tough to pin down. You're not a sheriff with a shiny badge, not a bandit with a wanted poster, and definitely not some fancy rancher sipping whiskey on a veranda. You're Jack Crow, 29, a cowboy with hands calloused as old leather, a horse who's got more opinions than a saloon full of drunks, and a heart that's half hope, half stubborn grit. It's noon, and you're neck deep in a cattle drive that's testing every ounce of your patience. Your job's to herd 300 longhorns, big, bony beasts with horns wide enough to hang a washtub, from a dusty ranch in Texas to a railhead 200 miles north. Sounds like a grand adventure, right? Wrong. These cows have the collective brainpower of a sack of hammers and the attitude of a cat in a bathtub. They scatter like roaches, get stuck in creeks, or just stop to stare at you like you're the one who's lost. For this, you'll pocket $30 a month if you're lucky. Enough for a new pair of boots, a bottle of cheap hooch, and maybe a night in a boarding house where the bedbugs throw a parade in your honor. If you're not lucky, well, let's not tempt fate just yet. The sun's a bully today, not just hot but downright mean, pressing down like a skillet left too long on the fire. The heat's a living thing, squeezing sweat from every pore until your shirt's a soggy rag, plastered to your back like a second skin you didn't sign up for. You're Jack Crow, perched in a McClellan saddle that's been your throne and your torment for 6 hours straight. It creaks with every step, a groan that's become your life's rhythm, like an old man muttering about his rheumatism. Your horse, Gray, plods along, his hooves kicking up clouds of red dust that settle in your eyes, your mouth, your very soul. Gray's a Mustang, tough as a coffin nail, with a coat the color of storm clouds and a personality that's half partner, half critic. Right now, he's shooting you a side eye that says, "Jack, I told you this cattle drive was a fool's errand. You're herding 300 longhorns, each one a masterpiece of bad decisions. These aren't the cuddly cows from picture books. They're lean, ornery brutes with horns that could skewer a bear, and they've got a knack for doing the exact opposite of what you want. One minute they're trudging along, the next they're veering into a thorn bush or stopping to chew grass like they've got a reservation at a 5-star pasture. You've spent the morning chasing strays, dodging hooves, and shouting curses that would make a preacher blush. Your lasso's coiled at your hip, your throat's drier than a desert bone, and your hat, a Stetson that's more patch than pride, is cooking your head like a clay oven. Take it off, and the sun'll burn your face to the color of a boiled lobster. Keep it on, and you're one step from seeing mirages of ice water and feather beds. You're not riding solo, thank the stars. You've got a crew, 5 other cowboys, each one a character straight out of a dime novel, but with worse hygiene and better stories. There's Red, a lanky redhead from Missouri with a laugh like a busted squeezebox and a voice that could scare off vultures. He's singing now, some mournful tune about a girl named Clementine who met a bad end, and you're half tempted to chuck a boot at him just to shut him up. Miguel's on the right flank, a Mexican vaquero who moves like a shadow and sharpens his knife with the kind of love most men save for their sweethearts. Miguel's quiet, but his eyes are a hawk's, missing nothing, and you've seen him drop a coyote at 40 yards with a single shot. Old Tom's the veteran, a grizzled cowboy who claims he's 60 but looks like he's been carved from mesquite and left to weather. Tom's got a scar for every story and a story for every scar, and he's got plenty of both. Then there's Billy and Sam, barely 20, full of bravado and dumb ideas, like the time they tried to rope a wild Mustang and ended up face down in a cactus patch. You're not friends, not in the way city folks mean it. You're more like a pack of stray dogs who've learned to share the same bone. You bicker, you curse, you save each other's hides when it counts. Red's running from a broken heart, or so he claims between verses. Miguel's past is a locked box, but you've heard whispers of trouble south of the border. Tom's too stubborn to quit, and Billy and Sam are chasing glory, not realizing it's a ghost that fades in the morning light. You're here because the West is the only place big enough for your heart. 10 years ago, you were a kid in St. Louis, mucking stables, dodging your pa's fists. When consumption took him, followed by your ma, you lit out west, chasing tales of open land and endless skies. You learned to ride, to rope, to shoot. You learned that freedom's a coin with two sides, adventure on one, loneliness on the other. Your gear's as much you as your own skin. Your saddle's a McClellan, heavy and worn, with a high cantle that digs into your spine but keeps you steady when gray bolts. Your lasso, braided rawhide, hangs at your hip, and you can loop a steer's horns at 20 paces on a good day. Your boots are scuffed leather, heels high to lock in the stirrups, spurs jingling like a poor man's orchestra. Your revolver, a Colt single-action army, rests in a holster that's molded to your hip, its weight a reminder that the West is as deadly as it is beautiful. You fired it in anger twice, once at a rustler who thought he could outdraw you, once at a rattlesnake that got too cozy with your bedroll. Both times, you walked away. You hope today's not the third. The prairie's a sea of grass, rippling under a breeze too weak to cool you. Mesquite trees dot the landscape, their gnarled branches like old men's fingers clawing at the sky. Yucca plants thrust up, their leaves sharp as bayonets, gleaming in the sun. A jackrabbit darts past, a blur of fur and speed, and you envy its freedom. Gray snorts, as if he's thinking the same, and you pat his neck, feeling the warmth of his coat. "We're not rabbits, buddy," you mutter. "We've got work to do." The herd spread out, a ragged line stretching half a mile. Your riding drag, the worst spot, eating dust kicked up by 300 sets of hooves. Your bandana's pulled over your nose, but it's like filtering a sandstorm with a napkin. Red's up front, whistling to keep the lead steer moving. Miguel's on the right, his hat tilted against the sun, his eyes scanning for trouble. Coyotes, snakes, or worse, men with bad intentions. Tom's at the rear with you, muttering curses at a cow that keeps trying to break away, calling it names that'd make a sailor blush. Billy and Sam are on the left, joking about a saloon they hit in San Antonio, their laughter cutting through the herd's lowing. The morning's been a grind. A calf got stuck in a dry creek bed, and you spent 20 minutes wrestling it out, your boots sinking in mud that smelled like despair. A rattler spooked a steer, and you had to cut it off before it started a stampede, your heart pounding as Gray danced around the hissing snake. A thorn bush tore your chaps, leaving a scratch that stings with every step. You're tired, thirsty, and starting to wonder if $30 is worth this. But then you glance at the horizon, where the sky's turning gold, and something in you stirs. This is your life, Jack. It's not the dime novel nonsense city folks gobble up. It's hard, raw, and yours. Let's talk about the West itself, because it's more than a backdrop, it's a character, as much a part of this story as you or Gray. In 1876, Texas is a land in transition. The Civil War's been over for a decade, but its scars linger in the form of broke ranchers and desperate men. Railroads are creeping in, but out here, the prairie's still king, ruled by longhorns, Comanche raiders, and the occasional bandit gang like the Daltons, who'd slit your throat for a single steer. The longhorns, the lifeblood of this world, tough, ornery, and worth their weight in gold to the cattle barons shipping them east. A single drive can make a man's fortune or break his spirit, and you've seen both. You've heard of the Chisholm Trail, the great cattle highway, but you're on a smaller route, one that's just as dusty and twice as mean. Your crew's a microcosm of the West, men from different worlds, thrown together by need and chance. Red's a Union vet, though he doesn't talk about the war, just sings to drown it out. Miguel's a vaquero, part of a tradition older than Texas itself, his skills honed on ranches south of the Rio Grande. Tom's a relic of the old frontier, back when buffalo roamed and the Comanche were a shadow on every horizon. Billy and Sam are the new blood, kids who grew up on stories of Billy the Kid and think the West is a game they can win. You're somewhere in the middle, not young enough to be reckless, not old enough to be wise, just stubborn enough to keep going. The afternoon's a slow burn, each mile a battle against heat and dust. You pass a dry wash, its cracked earth like a shattered mirror reflecting nothing but sky. A vulture circles overhead, and you wonder if it's betting on you or the cows. The air smells of sage, sweat, and something sharp, like rain that's too stubborn to fall. You hear the herds lowing, the creak of your saddle, Red singing, "Now he's butchering, oh Susanna," and it's no improvement. Somewhere, a coyote yips, faint but close enough to make you glance over your shoulder. The prairie's alive, and not all of it's friendly. You pull Gray to a stop, wiping your brow with a bandana that's more dust than cloth. Your canteen's half empty, the water warm and gritty, but you take a sip, grimacing as it slides down. You squint at the herd, counting heads, making sure no strays have wandered off. Red waves from the front, signaling all's clear. Miguel's still as a statue, his rifle resting across his saddle. Tom's shouting at that damn cow again, his voice hoarse but relentless. Billy and Sam are throwing pebbles at each other, because apparently they've got energy to burn. You shake your head, nudging Gray forward. "Let's keep him moving," you call, and the crew responds with grunts and whistles. The day's challenges keep coming. A steer bolts for no reason, and you chase it down, your lasso singing through the air to snag its horns. Gray's quick, turning on a dime, and you haul the steer back, cursing its lineage and its mother's choices. A dry creek bed slows the herd, and you spend an hour guiding them across, your boots sinking in sand that smells like baked clay. A mesquite branch snags your sleeve, leaving a scratch that burns like a brand. You're bone-tired, throat parched, and starting to think a desk job in St. Louis might not have been so bad. But then you catch the prairie's sweep, the way the grass ripples like a living thing, and you know you'd never trade this for a chair and a ledger. As the sun dips, painting the sky in streaks of orange and pink like a painter gone wild, you scout for camp. You need flat ground and, if the gods are kind, water, though out here, water often means a muddy trickle you wouldn't give a dog. You spot a clearing, a wide patch of grass with a stream, barely a foot wide but flowing clear. You signal the crew, and they guide the herd into a loose circle, a trick to keep them from wandering. You dismount, your legs stiff as rusted hinges, and lead Gray to the stream. He drinks like he's been in a desert for a year, and you splash water on your face, the cool shock cutting through the day's grit. The crew sets up camp with the ease of men who've done it 1,000 times. Red's gathering wood, his long arms hauling branches like he's wrestling a steer. Miguel's checking the horses, his hands quick and gentle despite the knife at his belt. Tom's got his cookpot out, ready to conjure another batch of beans that'll either keep you alive or haunt your dreams. Billy and Sam are arguing over who gets to sleep closest to the fire, their voices sharp but playful. You unroll your bedroll, a wool blanket that smells of horse and hard roads, and stretch, your back popping like a string of firecrackers. You're 29, but days like this make you feel like you've aged a decade. The fire's going, a cheerful crackle that pushes back the dusk. Tom's stirring the beans, and the smells. Well, it's food, and that's enough. "If I was a cow, I'd run from that stink," Red jokes, piling wood on the fire, but you know he'll eat 3 helpings. You sit by the flames, a tin plate of beans in hand, and take a bite. They're gritty, tasteless, and somehow the best thing you've eaten all day. You chase them with coffee brewed in a pot that's probably older than Tom, its taste strong enough to wake a corpse. Red's tuning his harmonica, a sound like a cat in a fight, but you let it slide because it's better than his singing. Miguel's sharpening his knife, the blade hissing against the stone, his eyes distant. Billy and Sam are playing cards, using rocks as chips, their laughter bouncing off the night. The stars are out, bright as diamonds scattered on black velvet. You lean back, your saddle as a pillow, and let the camp sounds wash over you. The fire's pop, Red's harmonica, the cattle's low hum. This is the cowboy life, Jack. It's not the romantic hogwash city folks read about in their penny dreadfuls. It's sweat, dust, and days that test your bones but not your spirit. You think about that ranch in Montana, a dream you carry like a worn locket, a creek, a cabin, a life where you're not choking on dust for a living. Someday, maybe. For now, you've got the prairie, the herd, and a crew that's as close to family as you'll get. You're drifting, the stars blurring into a soft haze, when a coyote howls, sharp and close. Gray lifts his head, ears twitching, and you sit up, hand on your Colt. The crew's still, Red's harmonica cuts off, Miguel's knife pauses, even Billy and Sam go quiet. The howl comes again, joined by another, a chorus that's more threat than song. Coyotes don't usually bother cattle, but out here, usually, is a flimsy word. You glance at Miguel, who's already standing, his rifle in hand. Trouble? You ask, keeping your voice low. Maybe, he says, his eyes on the dark. Maybe not. You stand, brushing dirt from your pants, and check Gray's tether. The herd's stirring, a few cows lowing louder, their hooves shifting. You don't like it. Could be coyotes, could be wolves, could be something worse, men with guns and bad ideas. The Dalton gang's been spotted in these parts, and 300 longhorns are a prize worth blood. You look at the crew, their faces tense in the firelight, and know they're thinking the same. Is it just the night playing tricks, or is trouble riding in? You rest your hand on your revolver, ready for whatever's out there, because one thing's sure, the Wild West doesn't let you sleep easy. But before we dive into the next chapter, take a deep breath. You're not in Jack's dusty boots. You've got a roof over your head, maybe a fan humming nearby, maybe a cat glaring at you for moving its favorite pillow. You're doing fine. Now, let's ride back to the Wild West and see what's waiting in the shadows. Your horse, Gray, stands tethered nearby, his silhouette a steady rock against the moon-washed prairie. The herd, 300 longhorns with horns wide as a saloon bar, hums softly, their breaths mingling with the drone of crickets and the rustle of grass in the breeze. It's almost quiet. But you've been a cowboy long enough to know quiet's just trouble holding its breath. Your crew's down for the count. Red, the red-headed beanpole with a voice like a kicked can, is snoring loud enough to rattle the stars, his hat tipped over his face like he's dodging his own noise. Miguel, the vaquero who glides like a shadow, is curled under his serape, still as a stone, his knife glinting faintly within reach. Old Tom's muttering in his sleep, probably cursing the invention of saddles or the price of coffee. Billy and Sam, the young guns, are tangled in their bedrolls, dreaming of poker hands they can't afford or saloon girls who'd laugh them out the door. You'd kill for their sleep, but yours is a runaway colt, spooked by that coyote's howl from earlier. Too raw, too near, like a blade scraped across the dark. You shift, searching for a spot on the ground that doesn't feel like it's out to break your back. Your bedroll's thin, damp with dew, and smells of horse and hard roads. Your jacket's slung over you, more a shield against bugs than a blanket. You try closing your eyes, but your mind's a wild Mustang, bucking through the day's grind. 6 hours in the saddle, wrestling strays, dodging rattlers, choking on dust thicker than a banker's lies. You're herding these longhorns 200 miles north to a railhead, where they'll be shipped east to feed city folks who think beef grows in a store. For that, you'll pocket $30 a month, maybe enough for new spurs and a night in a saloon where the whiskey doesn't taste like regret. It's a living, Jack, but it's a long way from a life. A boot nudges your shoulder, and your hands on your Colt faster than a snake's strike, heart hammering like a stampede. It's Miguel, his face half cloaked in shadow, eyes gleaming like wet flint in the emberlight. "Your watch, Jack," he says, voice low, like he's afraid to stir the night. You groan, because night watch is a cowboy's curse, endless circles around the herd, punctuated by moments that make you wish you'd stayed in St. Louis. You sit up, scrubbing your face, the stubble rough as gravel. Right, you mutter, dragging yourself up. Let's get it over with. You stand, legs creaky as old hinges, and pull on your jacket, the leather groaning like it's got its own complaints. Your hat's nearby, a battered Stetson that's more dust than dignity, but you jam it on, because a cowboy without a hat is like a steer without horns, useless and a bit sad. Gray's watching, ears flicked back in what you swear is a glare. Don't start with me, you tell him, untying his reins. He snorts, a puff of steam in the cool air, and you swing into the saddle, your sore backside yelping in protest. Come on, partner, you say, nudging him forward. Time to earn our keep. Night watch sounds easy, ride the herd's perimeter, keep them calm, scare off anything with teeth or bad intentions. But out here, easy's a fairy tale. The prairie at night is a different beast. By day, it's a wide open sea of grass, daring you to chase the horizon. By night, it's a maze of whispers and shapes that twist your head. Every rustle could be a rattler. Every snap could be a wolf. Every shadow could be a rustler with a rifle and a grudge. Old Tom's tales don't help. Stories of stampedes that crushed men to pulp, Comanche raiders who left nothing but hoofprints, even ghost cowboys riding trails to nowhere. You don't buy the ghost stuff, not really, but when the wind moans like a lost soul, it's hard to laugh it off. You guide Gray into a slow walk, his hooves thumping softly on the grass. The herd's a dark, restless mass, their backs glinting under a half-moon that paints the prairie in silver and shadow. They're calm, chewing cud or dozing, but you know that calm's as fragile as a saloon glass. One loud noise, a gunshot, a thunderclap, Red's harmonica if he's feeling brave, and you'll have 300 tons of chaos tearing through the dark. You've seen a stampede, back in '74, when a storm spooked a herd in Oklahoma. You rode through sheets of rain, dodging hooves, praying your luck held. You walked away with a sprained wrist and a memory you don't touch. It's heavy on your mind as you scan the herd, counting strays. The night's alive, buzzing with sound. Crickets hum like a choir stuck on one note, their drone rising and falling like a lazy tide. An owl hoots, its call bouncing across the flats like a flung pebble. Coyotes yip, far off but sharp, their voices weaving a song that's half lament, half taunt. You grip the reins tighter, eyes darting to every flicker in the dark. Gray's steady, but you feel his edge, the way his ears swivel at every rustle. He's not just a horse, he's your second set of eyes. 2 summers back, in a bone-dry canyon, he caught an ambush before you did, rearing to block a bullet that had your name on it. You owe him a bucket of apples when this drive's done, if you make it. You ride for an hour, maybe 2, Gray's rhythm settling you into a wary groove. Circle the herd, check the flanks, listen for trouble. Your eyes adjust, picking out shapes, a mesquite tree twisted like a hangman's knot, a yucca patch with leaves like bayonets, a boulder that looms like a sleeping buffalo. The air's thick with sage and earth, laced with the faint musk of cattle that's as much you as your own sweat. You're almost easy, shoulders loosening, hand drifting from the colt at your hip. Then Gray freezes, ears shooting up like signal flags, and your gut drops. You go still, every nerve sparking. Gray doesn't spook for nothing. He's faced storms, snakes, and barroom brawls without a flinch. If he's stopped, trouble's close. You lean forward, straining past the cricket's hum. There's a sound, faint, sharp, like boots crunching grass, coming from a sagebrush thicket 40 yards out. Your heart kicks like a mule, and you ease your colt free, the metal cool and heavy in your palm. "Steady, boy," you whisper, not sure if you're talking to Gray or yourself. You peer into the dark, the sagebrush a snarl of shadows under the moonlight. The rustle comes again, deliberate, and you spot movement, something low, quick, weaving through the bushes. Coyote. Could be, but coyotes slink, they don't stalk like that. Wolf. Maybe, but you'd hear a pack, and this is lone. Your mind churns, a stray calf, a lost dog, a Comanche scout silent as death. Or worse, a rustler, one of those jackals who'd gut you for a steer. The Dalton gang's been prowling these trails, and your crew's lean, 6 men guarding a herd worth a fortune. You're a target, Jack, and the weight of it settles like dust. The West at night's a beast worth knowing. In 1876, Texas is a land caught in the crosshairs. The Civil War's been over a decade, but its ghosts linger. Broke ranchers, drifters, men with nothing left but a gun. Railroads are clawing in, turning prairie into profit, but out here, the Longhorn's king, feeding the East with beef hauled by men like you. The Chisholm Trail's the big name, but you're on a meaner path, where Comanche raids, flash floods, and bandits are as real as the dirt under your boots. A single steer's worth $20 at the railhead, and 300 head? That's a prize men kill for, no questions asked. You ease Gray forward, slow as a prayer, keeping the thicket in your sights. The Colt's cocked, thumb on the hammer, ready to bark. You're no gunslinger, those fools burn bright and die fast, but you can hit what you aim at. Still, you'd rather not shoot. Bullets ain't cheap, and a shot could send the herd into a stampede that'd take days to untangle. You try words first, voice low and hard. Who's out there? Step slow, or I'm firin'. Nothing. The rustle stops, and the silence is worse, heavy as a storm cloud. Gray snorts, steam curling from his nose, and you pat his neck, holding him firm. You're about to call again when you see them, 2 glints in the thicket, like eyes snagging the moonlight. Your stomach lurches. Animal. Man. One of Tom's damn ghosts? You push the thought away, but your skin crawls, and you can't shake his yarn about the rider of Palo Duro, a cowboy crushed in a stampede, now haunting the plains with eyes like hot coals. You don't buy it. You don't. You're 20 yards out, close enough to catch the sage's sharp, peppery sting. The glints hold steady, watching, and you feel like they're sizing you up. You aim the Colt at the thicket's heart, voice cutting the dark. Last chance. Show yourself, or I shoot. The bushes split, and you brace, finger tight on the trigger. No rustler, no ghost. It's a kid, skinny as a whip, maybe 16, in a shirt more rags than cloth and a hat that's mostly holes. His hands are up, face pale under a crust of dirt, eyes big as silver dollars, like he's staring down hell itself. Don't shoot, mister, he says, voice splintering like dry kindling. I ain't nobody. Just starvin'. You lower the Colt, but not all the way. Trust is a coin you don't spend lightly, not out here where a smile can hide a blade. The kid looks like he hasn't eaten since Christmas. Cheeks hollow, shoulders poking through his shirt, but you've seen helpless turn deadly. Like that time in Wichita, when a drunk pulled a knife and left you with a scar and a lesson. Who are you? You ask, keeping Gray still. And why you creepin' round my herd? He swallows, throat bobbing like a cork. Will Tanner, he says. Ran from a ranch 50 miles south. Owner was a mean cuss, whipped me for spillin' a bucket. I ain't stole nothin', swear it. Saw your fire, smelled food. Hoped you might spare a scrap. His story's got truth's rough edges. Ranch hands, especially kids, get kicked around plenty. You bolted from a bad job yourself, years back, before you learned a lasso from a rope. But his eyes keep flicking, like he's waiting for something to pounce. You alone? You ask, scanning the dark for more glints, more rustles. Yes, sir, he says, nodding fast enough to lose his hat. Walked 2 days, livin' on berries, sippin' creeks. I ain't trouble, mister. You study him, his face sharp in the moonlight. He's got a stray's look, hungry, scared, but not whipped. You've seen that in your own eyes, back when you were 17 with nothing but a bag and a prayer. Your gut says he's straight, but your head says watch him close. All right, Will, you say, easing the Colt into its holster but keeping your hand near. Walk to camp, slow, hands up. Try anything, and you'll wish you'd stayed in the sage. He nods, turning toward the fire's glow, and you follow, Gray's hooves soft on the grass. You whistle, 2 short notes, the crew's code for trouble, stay sharp. The herd's calm, thank God, but you're not relaxing. You keep Will ahead, watching his hands, his limp favoring his left leg. From walking, or something worse. Camp's awake when you get there. Red's on his feet, rifle cocked, hair a red tangle in the firelight. Well damn Jack, he says, grinning like it's a joke. You adoptin' strays now? Miguel's up, knife catching the glow, his face cold as flint. Billy and Sam blink sleep away, pistols in hand, looking like kids who found a new game. Tom's sitting up, scowl deep enough to plant corn. What's this scarecrow, he snaps. We ain't feedin' the whole damn prairie. You dismount, keeping Will in front. Name's Will Tanner, you say. Caught him near the herd. Says he's a runaway, wants food. Red chuckles, slinging his rifle. Hell Jack, you'll have every bum in Texas eatin' our beans by sundown. Miguel doesn't smile. He steps closer, knife spinning, and Will flinches. Runaways, he says, voice like a blade. Some escape trouble. Some drag it with them. Will's eyes bounce between you and Miguel, like he's picking the safer wolf. I ain't trouble, he says, voice small but firm. Need a meal, then I'm gone. Swear. Tom huffs, hauling himself up. Boy, you look like a good-winded snap you. What's your tale? And don't spin me no yarns, 'cause I can sniff a lie through a dust storm. He's bluffing. Tom's nose is sharper for rotgut than deceit, but Will's too green to know. The kid repeats his story. Cruel rancher, beatings, 2 days on foot, scraping by on berries and creek water that tasted like rust. He tosses in bits, a busted fence he hopped, a hound that chased him, a stream that nearly drowned him. It's enough to sound real, but Miguel's still eyeing him like a rattler, and you're not sold. You've got 300 head, a long trail, and a crew held together by spit and grit. Taking on a stray's a gamble you don't need. You decide. He eats, you say, cutting off Miguel's glare. We sort him at dawn. Red shrugs, Billy and Sam smirk like it's a lark, but Tom's already scooping cold beans onto a dented tin plate. Eat fast, kid, he grumbles, thrusting it at Will. This ain't a hotel. Will grabs the plate like it's gold, sitting by the fire and wolfing beans so fast you're sure he's not tasting them. You watch, leaning against Gray, brushing his coat to keep your hands steady. The motion's a lifeline, but your mind's a dust devil, spinning questions. The camp quiets, but it's tense as a taut rope. Red hums, Lorena, soft, like he's trying not to spook the kid. Miguel's sharpening his knife. The blades hiss a quiet threat, eyes pinned on Will. Billy and Sam whisper, betting pebbles on whether Will's a crook or a fool. Tom's back in his bedroll, muttering about, damn softheads. You stay by Gray, Colt holstered but hand close, tracking Will's every twitch. He finishes, scraping the plate clean, and glances at you, eyes carrying something. Thanks, maybe, or fear. Thanks, mister, he murmurs, voice barely a breeze. I won't stir trouble. You nod, but don't bite. Promises are cheap as saloon whiskey, and you've seen too many sour. You're about to settle down, the fire's glow tugging you toward sleep, when Will shifts, his hand grazing his pocket. A glint catches the firelight, small, metallic, sharp in the dark. Your hands on your Colt like lightning, heart thumping hard. Knife? Derringer? Worse? You don't know, but out here, don't know, is a loaded gun. What's Will hiding, Jack? Is he the starved kid he claims, or did you just let trouble warm its hands by your fire? Dawn's a long way off, and the night's got more shadows than truths. Your crew's awake, firelight carving their faces sharp, Red with his rifle, Miguel with his knife, Tom scowling, Billy and Sam clutching pistols. They're all watching Will Tanner, the runaway kid sitting by the fire, his hand frozen near his pocket where a metallic glint just sparked, setting your nerves on edge. You step forward, boots crunching on brittle grass, voice low and hard. Show it, kid. Slow. Will's eyes, wide as saloon mirrors, flick up, his hand trembling like a leaf in a storm. The crew's tense, Red's grin gone, Miguel's knife stilled. Will inches his fingers into his pocket, pulling out a battered brass pocket watch, its face cracked, ticking faint but stubborn. My paws, he says, voice barely above the fire's crackle. Only thing he left me. I ain't no thief, mister. You exhale, the coil in your gut loosening, but not all the way. A watch isn't a blade, but it's a question mark. It's too fine for a ranch hand's kid. Brass, sturdy, the kind that costs a month's wages. You glance at Miguel, whose eyes narrow like he's sniffing a lie. Red chuckles, easing his rifle. Damn, kid, thought you were pullin' a cannon. Who steals beans and keeps a ticker? Billy and Sam snort, their pistols dipping, but Tom spits into the fire, the sizzle sharp. Fool's luck you ain't full of holes, he grumbles. You nod at Will, keeping your hand near your Colt. That watch stays out. You're here till dawn, then we talk. He clutches it like a lifeline, curling up by the fire, his thin frame shivering. You step back to Gray, stroking his flank, the rhythm calming your racing thoughts. The herd's still, coyotes quiet, but your mind's churning. Will's story, mean rancher, 2 days on foot, holds water, but that watch doesn't fit. Stolen, heirloom, or a marker of something chasing him. Out here, questions like that can kill. The camp quiets, but it's a taut quiet, like a rope stretched to snapping. Red hums, Camptown races, soft and off-key, his eyes flicking to Will. Miguel's knife hisses against a whetstone, his gaze never leaving the kid. Billy and Sam whisper, tossing pebbles at a tin cup, betting who's got better aim. Tom's sprawled on his bedroll, muttering about damn strays and softer hearts. You lean against Gray, his warmth a steady anchor, the stars above bright as spilled coins. You think of St. Louis, a kid shoveling stables, running west when death took your folks. Will's watch, his hunched shoulders, remind you of that kid. Too close, too raw. Will's voice cuts the stillness, small but clear. Mister, you ever lose something, that's all you got? He's staring at the watch, its cracked face catching the firelight. You pause, the question hitting like a stray bullet. Your ma's locket, sold for a ticket west, flashes in your mind, its weight a ghost in your chest. Yeah, you say, voice rough. You carry it, but you keep movin'. Ain't no other way. He nods, curling tighter around the watch, and you settle on your bedroll, saddle for a pillow. Sleep's a long shot, your thoughts tangled with Will's words, the herd's low hum, the prairie's endless whisper. The night's too still, and Gray's ears keep twitching, like he's hearing trouble you can't. Dawn breaks slow, a gray wash creeping over the horizon like spilled ink. You're up first, checking the herd, their dark shapes steady in the mist. No strays, no losses, but the air's heavy, like rains waiting to pounce, though the sky's clear. You saddle Gray, his coat warm under your hands, and help Miguel break camp. Red stirring coffee, the bitter smell cutting through the chill. Will's rolling blankets with Billy, his movements quick, like he's earning his keep. Tom shoves a tin cup of coffee at him, grumbling, "Don't spill it, runt." Will takes it, sipping like it's a prize, his watch tucked in his shirt, visible but safe. The crew's edgy, eyes darting to Will. Miguel rides close, his voice a low rasp. "That watch ain't no hand-me-down," he says, nodding at Will, who's walking beside Red. "Too fine. Kid's got a story he ain't tellin'." You grunt, not committing. Miguel's got a nose for trouble, but you're not ready to hang Will yet. The watch bugs you too. Brass, worn but solid, not the kind a kid like him comes by honest. You've seen men killed for less, like that drover in Austin who lost his life over a silver chain. The trail's a grind, sun climbing like it's got a score to settle. The prairie's a sea of grass, dotted with mesquite and yucca, their leaves glinting like knives. The herd moves slow, hooves kicking up dust that coats your throat. Red spinning a tale about a ghost stagecoach in San Angelo, his voice bouncing like a drunk fiddler. Will listens, eyes wide, but his hand keeps brushing that watch, like it's a talisman. Billy and Sam are joking, tossing insults about who's worse with a lasso. Tom's riding drag, cursing a cow that keeps veering left, his voice hoarse but relentless. You ride beside Gray, scanning the horizon. The West's a brutal school, and its lessons bear knowing. In 1876, Texas is a land of raw edges. The Civil War's ghost haunts every broke rancher and drifter with a chip on his shoulder. Railroads are stitching the prairie, but out here, cattle are king, each steer a dollar sign on hooves. Trouble's never far, Comanche raiders striking like lightning, bandits like the Dalton gang sniffing for easy pickings, flash floods that can drown a herd in minutes. Your crew's a snapshot of this world. Red, a Union vet singing to forget. Miguel, a vaquero with shadows south of the border. Tom, a grizzled relic. Billy and Sam, kids chasing dime novel glory. You're the glue, not by choice, but because giving up ain't in you. Noon hits, the sun a hammer pounding your hat. You pass a dry wash, it's cracked earth like a shattered plate. A buzzard circles, lazy and patient, and you wonder if it's eyeing you or the herd. The air's thick with heat and sage, the herd's lowing a steady pulse. Red switched to, "Oh Susanna," his voice scraping like a dull blade. Billy's wrestling a stray calf, shouting like he's taming a dragon. You're bone-tired, throat dry as dust, but the prairie's wide sweep, grass rolling to the horizon, keeps you grounded. You're riding beside Sam, who's quieter than usual, when he points ahead. "Tracks," he says, voice tight. You spur Gray forward, dust swirling, and your gut sinks. In the dirt are hoofprints, fresh, a dozen at least, circling wide like a noose around the herd. They're not yours, too deep, too deliberate. Red's laugh dies, Miguel's hand drops to his knife, and Tom's face hardens like flint. Will's frozen, his hand on his watch, eyes locked on the tracks like they're a death warrant. "Bandits?" Sam asks, voice cracking. Miguel kneels, tracing a print, his voice cold. "Or hunters. Too many for strays." You scan the hills, Colt heavy at your hip. The coyote howl from 2 nights back echoes in your mind, a warning you didn't heed. Was it just the prairie's voice, or did it signal these tracks? Men circling, waiting? Will's pale, too pale, and you wonder if he's tied to this, if that watch is a breadcrumb leading trouble to your fire. One thing's sure, the West's got its claws out, and you're in its grip. The sun's a dull blade, slicing through a haze of dust that hangs like a curse over the Texas prairie. It's noon, and the air's thick with heat, sage, and the gritty tang of churned earth. You dismount, boots hitting the ground with a puff of dust, and kneel beside Miguel. The prints are clear, a dozen horses, maybe more, heavy-shod, moving deliberate, not the aimless wander of strays. "Bandits?" You ask, voice low, though you know the answer. Miguel traces a print, his fingers steady. "Or scouts. Too neat for Comanche. Too many for loners." His eyes flick to Will, who's standing by Red, looking like he'd rather sink into the dirt than meet that gaze. You stand, squinting at the horizon, where hills ripple like a snake's spine. The coyote howl from 3 nights back gnaws at you, its sharp edge a warning you should have heeded. Was it just the prairie's voice, or did it herald these tracks? Men circling, sizing up your herd? You've got a crew of 6, a kid who's half a liability, and a fortune in cattle that'd tempt a saint. The Dalton gang's been hitting drives like yours, and the thought of their knives in the dark makes your hand drift to your Colt. "Red, Billy," you say, turning to the crew. "Fan out, check the flanks. Quiet like." Red nods, his usual grin replaced by a tight line, and Billy swings onto his horse, eager to prove himself. Sam's fidgeting, his pistol half drawn, and Tom's glaring at Will like he's the root of all evil. "What about the kid?" Tom growls, spitting tobacco juice that lands too close to Will's boots. "He shows up, now we got shadows." Ain't no coincidence. Will flinches, his hand tightening on the watch, its cracked brass glinting in the sun. I ain't with nobody, he says, voice cracking like dry twigs. I told you, I ran from a ranch. I don't know nothin' 'bout tracks. His eyes are pleading, but there's a tremor in them, like he's holding back a bigger truth. Miguel stands, dusting his hands, his knife slipping into its sheath with a soft hiss. Runaways don't carry watches like that, he says, stepping close to Will, who shrinks back. Who's your pa, boy? And who's chasin' you? The air's thick, the crew's eyes boring into Will, and you feel the weight of it. Trust's a thin thread, and it's fraying fast. Enough, you snap, cutting the tension like a lasso. We deal with the tracks first. Will, you stick with Sam. Don't wonder. Sam nods, pulling Will toward the herd, though his grip on his pistol says he's not thrilled. You mount Gray, his warmth steadying you, and signal the crew to move. The herd's antsy, heads tossing, hooves stomping, like they smell what you can't see. You need to keep them moving, find a defensible camp, and figure out if those tracks are a one-off or the start of a noose tightening around you. The prairie's a furnace, the sun hammering your battered Stetson, dust coating your throat like a second skin. You ride point, Gray's hooves thudding a steady rhythm, eyes scanning every bush, every rise. The tracks veer west, toward a dry wash flanked by mesquite, and you signal Miguel to scout ahead. He rides off, low in the saddle, a shadow slipping through the heat shimmer. Red's back, reporting no signs on the left flank, but his face says he's uneasy. Something ain't right, Jack, he mutters. Feels like we're bein' watched. You nod, feeling it too, a prickle on your neck, like eyes boring through the haze. The West's a brutal stage, and your center spotlight. In 1876, Texas is a land of hunger and hustle. The Civil War's ashes still smolder, broke ranchers, drifters with nothing but a grudge, soldiers who never went home. Cattle are gold, each steer a ticket to wealth or a grave, and your herd's a beacon for men like the Daltons, who'd kill for a cut. Comanche raiders are a whisper on every trail, their strikes swift and silent. Even nature's got claws, rattlers, storms, floods that can swallow a drive whole. Your crew's a jagged puzzle, Red, drowning war memories in song, Miguel, a vaquero with a past he won't share, Tom, too stubborn to die, Billy and Sam, kids chasing glory, Will, a question mark with a watch. You're no leader, just the fool who keeps them pointed north. The day drags, each mile a slog through dust and doubt. The herd spread thin, forcing Billy to chase strays, his curses drifting back like smoke. Tom's riding drag, shouting at a cow that's got a mind of its own, his voice raw as a buzzard's caw. Sam's stuck with Will, who's walking quiet, head down, watch tucked in his shirt. You catch him glancing at the hills, and it sets your teeth on edge. Is he scared, or is he looking for someone? Miguel returns, his face grim. Tracks split, he says, reining in beside you. Half head west, toward the wash. Half circle north, like they're herdin' us. Your gut twists. That's no random ride, someone's playing chess, and you're the pawns. How fresh? You ask, keeping your voice steady. Last night, maybe dawn, he says. Shod horses. Heavy. Not ranchers. He doesn't say bandits, but the word hangs like a noose. You glance at the crew, their faces tight, and make a call. We camp early, near that rise. You point to a low hill a mile off, flat enough for the herd, high enough to see trouble coming. Double watch tonight. No chances. The crew moves, guiding the herd toward the rise, their usual banter dead. Red's whistling low, a nervous habit, while Billy and Sam stick close, pistols loose in their holsters. Tom's muttering about damn fools and their trails, but he's checking his rifle. Will's helping Sam with the strays, his hands quick but his eyes distant, like he's half here, half somewhere else. You ride beside Gray, patting his neck, his steady gait a lifeline in the chaos. Stay sharp, buddy. You whisper, and he snorts, like he's saying he's way ahead of you. Camp set fast, the herd circled tight, a trick to keep them from bolting. The rise gives you a view, grass stretching to the horizon, broken by mesquite and a dry creek bed that glints like a scar. The sun's dipping, painting the sky bloody orange, and the air's cooling, sharp with sage and earth. Red's gathering wood, his long arms hauling branches like he's wrestling a steer. Miguel's checking the horses, his hands deft despite the knife at his belt. Tom's got the cookpot out, stirring beans that smell like punishment. Billy and Sam are tethering the herd, joking about saloon girls to mask their nerves. Will's hauling water from the creek, his limp worse now, and you wonder if it's exhaustion or something he's not telling. You sit by the fire, a tin plate of beans in hand, the taste gritty but filling. The coffee's strong enough to wake a rock, brewed in a pot that's seen more trails than you. The crew's quiet, eating fast, eyes on the darkening prairie. You're thinking about those tracks, about Will's watch, about the howl that started this mess. 3 nights ago, coyotes sang too close, and Gray's ears caught something you missed. Now these prints, circling like vultures, feel like that howl's echo, trouble closing in, patient and mean. Miguel breaks the silence, his voice low. "We're bein' hunted, Jack." He's sharpening his knife, the blades hiss a steady pulse. "Those tracks ain't random. They know our route." Red stops chewing, his eyes wide. "You think it's the Daltons?" he asks, voice quieter than usual. Tom snorts, but there's no humor in it. "Daltons, Comanche, or some bastard with a grudge. Don't matter. We're sittin' ducks." You nod, weighing options. "We push hard tomorrow, cut east to throw him off. More eyes tonight, 2 on watch, not 1. The crew grunts agreement, but Will's silent, staring at his watch like it's a map to somewhere safe. You're about to ask him straight, what's he hiding? When Billy speaks up, his voice tight. "What if it's him?" He jerks his head at Will. "Kid shows up, now we got tracks." "Ain't right." Will's head snaps up, eyes flashing. "I ain't with him. I told you, I ran from a ranch. I don't know nobody out here." His voice is desperate, but there's a crack in it, like a dam about to burst. Sam shifts, hand on his pistol, and Miguel's knife pauses, his eyes boring into Will. You raise a hand, stopping the pile-on. "Billy, ease off." "Will, you got something to say, now's the time." Will swallows, his fingers white around the watch. "My pa, he was a drover, like you. Got killed 2 years back, near Fort Worth. This watch was his. I took it when I ran, but I ain't stole it. Nobody's after me, I swear." His voice breaks, and you see it. Grief, raw and real, the kind you carried when you lost your folks. But Miguel's not buying it. "A drover's watch don't look like that," he says, standing. "Who's your pa, boy? And don't lie." You're about to step in when a sound cuts through, a crack, sharp and distant, like a whip or a gunshot. Gray rears, snorting, and the herd stirs, hooves thumping. The crew's on its feet, rifles up, eyes scanning the dark. It came from the west, near the wash, where the tracks led. "What the hell was that?" Red whispers, his voice shaking. You grip your Colt, heart pounding, and squint into the night. There, on a distant ridge, a silhouette, 1 rider, maybe 2, too far to make out, but moving fast, gone in a blink. The camp's a coiled spring, the herd's lowing louder, the air electric with fear. Was it a gunshot, a branch snapping, or something worse? Are those riders the source of the tracks, or just a scout for something bigger? You look at Will, his face white as bone, and wonder if his past just caught up, or if the West's about to remind you how cruel it can be. The night's a cold fist, gripping the Texas prairie with a chill that seeps into your bones. The fire's down to embers, spitting faint sparks that die in the dark. Those tracks from yesterday, circling like a noose, aren't just a warning anymore. Trouble's here, and it's got a voice. You stand, boots grinding on the dirt, eyes scanning the ridge where the riders vanished. The air's thick with sage, smoke, and the sour edge of fear. Red Miguel, you say, voice low but sharp. Scout the wash. Quiet. Billy, Sam, guard the herd. Tom, with me. The crew moves, no questions, their faces hard in the firelight. Will's still, like he's waiting for a noose to drop, and you point at him. You, kid, stay put. Don't touch that watch. He nods, fast, but his eyes dart to the dark, and you wonder again what he's not saying. Red and Miguel slip into the night, rifles low, shadows blending with the mesquite. Billy and Sam fan out toward the herd, their steps quick but shaky, pistols gleaming faintly. Tom grabs his Winchester, spitting tobacco juice that hisses in the embers. Damn fool's errand, he mutters, but he's at your side, his limp barely slowing him. You lead Gray to the rise's edge, the hill giving you a view of the prairie, grass rippling under a half-moon, the dry wash glinting like a snake's trail. The gunshot's echo lingers in your head, sharp as that coyote howl 5 nights back, when Gray's ears first caught trouble. Was it signaling this? Riders, tracks, a trap closing tight? You and Tom creep toward the wash, Colt ready, every rustle a spike in your pulse. The prairie's alive at night, crickets humming like a drunk choir, and owls hoot bouncing off the flats. But there's something else, a faint clink, like spurs or a bridle, coming from the wash. You signal Tom to stop, crouching behind a yucca, its leaves sharp as bayonets. The West's a cruel game, and you're deep in its hand. In 1876, Texas is a powder keg. Post-Civil War drifters, broke ranchers, and bandits like the Dalton gang prowling for blood and profit. Cattle are king, but they're a magnet for trouble, and your herd's a prize men kill for. Comanche raids are a ghost story that still bleeds, and nature's no friend, rattlers, storms, dust that chokes your soul. Your crew's a brittle alliance, Red, singing to bury his scars, Miguel, a vaquero with a locked past, Tom, too mean to die, Billy and Sam, kids with more guts than sense, Will, a wild card with a watch that doesn't add up. Tom nudges you, pointing to the wash. Shadows move, 2, maybe 3, low and quick, slipping through the mesquite. You catch a glint, metal, maybe a rifle barrel, catching the moonlight. Your heart kicks like a mule. Ambush! Tom whispers, his voice a rasp. You nod, easing the Colt's hammer back, the click loud in the hush. You're no gunslinger, but you've shot to live, once in a saloon brawl, once at a rustler who didn't know when to quit. Tonight might be the third, and the thought's a cold weight in your gut. You're about to signal Red and Miguel when a shout splits the night. Billy, from the herd, his voice high and panicked. Riders! East side. Gunshots follow, 2 sharp cracks, and the herd's lowing turns to a roar, hoofs thundering as they shift. You curse, bolting back to camp, Tom huffing behind. The fire's a beacon, drawing you in, and you see Billy and Sam firing into the dark, their pistols flashing. Will's ducked behind a saddle, eyes wide, watch clutched like a shield. The herd's on the edge of a stampede, and you yell, "Hold him tight!" knowing it's a long shot. Red and Miguel burst from the wash, rifles up, faces grim. "For men," Miguel says, breathless. "Armed, movin' fast. Dalton's, maybe." Red's nodding, his hair a wild halo. "They're splittin' us, Jack. Herd's the bait." You grit your teeth, mind racing. The tracks, the gunshot, the riders, it's a trap, and you're caught like a calf in a lasso. You fire a shot into the air, hoping to spook the riders without starting a full stampede. The herd lurches but holds, and you shout, "Circle up! Cover the fire!" The crew scrambles, dragging saddles and packs to form a low barricade around the fire. Red and Miguel take the west, Billy and Sam the east, Tom the north. You pull Will to the center, shoving him down. "Stay low, kid." You shoot. He shakes his head, terrified, and you thrust a spare pistol into his hands. "Point and pull if it comes to it." He nods, gripping it like it's a snake, and you turn to the dark, Colt raised, scanning for movement. The night's a chaos of sound, herd lowing, hooves stomping, crickets drowned by your pulse. Then you see them, 6 riders, shadows breaking from the wash, rifles glinting as they charge. Gunshots crack, bullets kicking dirt near the fire, one pinging off Tom's cookpot with a clang. Red fires back, his rifle barking, and a rider jerks, slumping in the saddle. Miguel's a ghost, slipping to the side, his shots precise, dropping another. You aim, firing at a shadow, and hear a curse as your bullet grazes flesh. The riders veer, circling wide, their shots wild but close. Daltons! Tom roars, his Winchester blazing, and you know he's right. These aren't drifters, they're pros, hitting hard and fast. You duck as a bullet winds past, splintering a mesquite branch. The herd's teetering, and Billy's shouting, trying to hold the line. Sam's firing, his shots more bravado than aim, and you pray he doesn't hit one of your own. Will's crouched, pistol shaking, useless but alive. You reload, the Colt's cylinder clicking, and fire again, clipping a rider's arm. They're pulling back, retreating to the wash, but you know this isn't over. They're testing, probing, and they'll hit again. The gunfire fades, the riders melting into the dark, leaving only dust and the herd's panicked lowing. You hold position, breath ragged, counting heads. Red's got a grazed shoulder, blood seeping through his shirt, but he's grinning like a fool. Got one, Jack, he says, wincing. Miguel's unscathed, reloading with steady hands. Tom's cursing, checking his pot for holes. Billy and Sam are shaken but whole, their faces pale. Will's still crouched, pistol unfired, watch glinting in his fist. The herd's rattled but intact, no stampede, thank God. You stand, Colt still drawn, scanning the wash. They'll be back, you say, voice grim. Dawn, maybe sooner. We move at first light, hard and east. The crew nods, no arguments, their eyes reflecting the fire's dying glow. You turn to Will, who's staring at the dark like it's got his name. Kid, you say, sharp. That watch, your pa. Any reason men'd kill for it? He shakes his head, fast, but his eyes flicker, and you know he's holding something back. Miguel steps close, knife in hand, voice cold. Speak, boy, or I'll cut the truth out. Will's voice breaks, a whisper. Pa worked for a cattleman, big ranch. Got in a fight, died. I took the watch and ran. That's all. It's half a story, and you feel it. Miguel's right, there's more. You're about to press when Tom grunts, pointing north. Look. You follow his finger, and your blood runs cold. There, in the moonlight, a single rider stands on the ridge. Not charging, just watching, a black shape against the silver sky. No gunshot, no shout, just a shadow, still as death, like it's marking you for what's coming. The crew's silent, the herd's lowing a distant hum, and that rider's gaze feels like a blade on your neck. Is it the Daltons' leader, planning the next hit? Someone from Will's past, hunting that watch? Or something worse, waiting to strike? The night's got no answers, but one thing's clear, you're not just herding cattle anymore, you're fighting to survive. You ease up, keeping low, eyes locked on the ridge. The air's thick with smoke, dust, and the herd's musky tang, the silence brittle after the gunfire's echo. The coyote howl from 6 nights back claws at your memory, its warning tied to the tracks, the bandits, and now this watcher. Is he the Dalton gang's boss, planning a second hit? Someone hunting Will, tied to that damn watch? Or a new player in this deadly game? Your crew's battered, Red's bleeding, the herd's jumpy, and Will's half-truths are a splinter in your trust. You signal Miguel, pointing to the ridge. Flank left. You whisper. I'll go right. We get eyes on him. Miguel nods, slipping into the dark like a wraith, his knife a faint gleam. You pat Gray's neck, murmuring, stay put, buddy, and creep toward the ridge, Colt raised, boots soft on the grass. The prairie's alive with whispers, crickets buzzing, and owls' call ricocheting, the herd's low moans. Every shadow's a threat, every rustle a blade. Red's covering the camp, his rifle trained on the ridge, while Tom's muttering curses, his Winchester steady despite his limp. Billy and Sam are by the herd, pistols up, their breaths short and sharp. Will's huddled behind a pack, watch in hand, and you catch his eyes, scared, guilty, hiding something. The ridge is 100 yards off, a low spine of dirt and mesquite. You move fast, crouching, the Colt's weight a comfort. The West's a brutal chessboard, and you're a pawn with a gun. In 1876, Texas is a land of raw hunger. Civil War's end left drifters and deserters with nothing but grit and greed. Cattle drives are gold mines, but they draw wolves, bandits like the Daltons, who hit fast and leave bodies, Comanche raiders, ghosts in the night, even nature, with its storms and rattlers, waiting to break you. Your crew's a frayed rope, Red, a vet burying ghosts in song, Miguel, a vaquero with secrets sharper than his blade, Tom, a grizzled mule, Billy and Sam, kids chasing legends, Will, a puzzle with a past that doesn't fit. You're no hero, just the one who keeps them moving. You reach the ridge's base, mesquite clawing at your jacket, and spot Miguel across the wash, his shadow blending with the brush. The rider's still there, unmoving, a black cutout against the sky. You're close enough to see his horse, a big roan, head low, no jingle of spurs. He's alone, no backup, but that doesn't ease the knot in your gut. You signal Miguel to hold, raising your Colt, voice cutting the dark. Who are you? Speak, or I shoot. The rider shifts, slow, raising one hand, empty, palm out. Ain't here to fight, he calls, voice rough but steady, carrying a twang that's more Kansas than Texas. Got words for Jack Crow. Your name in his mouth feels like a snakebite, and you tighten your grip on the Colt. Step down, you say. Slow. Keep them hands high. He dismounts, deliberate, boots hitting dirt with a soft thud. He's tall, lean, in a duster coat, hat tipped low, a rifle slung across his back but untouched. Miguel moves in, knife ready, and you step closer, moonlight catching the man's face. Scarred, weathered, eyes like chipped slate, maybe 40. Name's Hale, he says, hands still up. Rode with your pa, Crow, back in '69. Owe him a debt. You freeze, the words hitting like a hoof to the chest. Your pa's been dead 10 years, taken by fever in St. Louis, long before you hit the trails. He was a drover, yeah, but this stranger knowing him sets your teeth on edge. My pa's gone, you say, Colt steady. What's your game? Hale's eyes flick to the camp, then back to you. Ain't no game. Your crew's marked. Dalton's hit you tonight, but they're workin' for someone bigger. That kid, Will, his watch is a key. His pa crossed a cattle baron, name of Grayson, out of Fort Worth. Grayson wants that watch, and he'll burn your drive to get it. Miguel hisses, his knife glinting, and you feel the ground shift. Will's half-story, his drover pa, killed in a fight, suddenly grows thorns. Talk, you say, stepping closer, Colt aimed at Hale's chest. What's the watch? And why's Grayson care? Hale's voice stays even. It's a marker. Grayson's brand's etched inside, ties him to a land grab, stolen claims, blood money. Will's pa was gonna talk, so Grayson had him killed. Kid took the watch, ran. Now Grayson's men are tracking you, not just Dalton's. I'm here to warn you, for your pa's sake. Your mind races, the pieces jagged. Will's watch, too fine for a drover's kid, now a death warrant? Grayson, a cattle baron, hiring bandits to chase a kid? And Hale, claiming a debt to your pa? Trust's a rare coin, and you're out of change. Why should I believe you? You ask, thumb on the Colt's hammer. Hale pulls a letter from his coat, slow, and tosses it at your feet. Your pa's hand, he says. Read it. You nod to Miguel, who snatches it, unfolding a brittle page. Moonlight shows faded ink, your pa's scrawl, short, about a debt Hale owed for a saved horse, dated '69. It looks real, but forgeries ain't new, and you're not dropping your guard. Before you answer, a shout from camp, Red's voice, urgent. Jack. Trouble. Gunshots crack, 3 fast pops, and the herd's lowing spikes, hooves thundering. You curse, glancing at Hale, who's tense but not running. Stay here, you snap, bolting back, Miguel at your heels. The camp's chaos, Reds firing east, Billy and Sam scrambling, Tom blasting his Winchester. Will's ducked low, pistol still unfired, watch gleaming. The herd shifting, on the edge of a stampede, and you see them. 4 riders, not the Daltons, charging from the east, rifles blazing. You dive behind the barricade, firing your Colt, the recoil sharp. A rider falls, but the others press, bullets kicking dirt, one grazing your hat. Red shouting, his rifle jamming, blood seeping from his shoulder. Miguel's a blur, his shots dropping a second rider. Tom's cursing, his Winchester singing, and Billy's firing wild, nearly hitting Sam. You reload, hands steady despite the chaos, and glance at Will. His eyes are locked on the riders, not scared, knowing, like he's seen them before. Will! You yell, grabbing his arm. You know these men? He shakes his head, too fast, but his face betrays him. Guilt, fear, truth. The riders pull back, vanishing into the dark, leaving 2 bodies and a herd teetering on panic. You hold the line, shouting to Billy and Sam to circle the cattle, praying they don't bolt. The gunfire fades, the night swallowing the riders, but the air's electric, the crew gasping, bleeding, alive. You turn to Will, Colt still in hand, voice hard. No more lies, kid. Who's Grayson? What's that watch? He's shaking, watch clutched like a lifeline, but before he speaks, Miguel's back, dragging Hale, who's calm despite the knife at his throat. He didn't run, Miguel says, eyes narrow. Hale's watching Will, like he knows the kid's story better than you. Then Tom points west, voice low. Jack, look. You follow his gaze, and your blood chills. A scrap of cloth, tied to a mesquite branch, flutters in the moonlight, red, with a crude skull scratched in charcoal. It's a marker, a warning, left by the riders or someone else. Grayson's men? Dalton's? Or Hale, playing a deeper game? The crew's eyes are on you, Will's trembling, and that cloth feels like a death sentence, waiting to be read. Its crude skull, scratched in charcoal, stares back like a death threat. Gray's ears twitch, his breath steaming as the herd's lowing spikes, still edgy from the bandit shots an hour ago. Your crew's coiled tight, red, shoulder bandaged, rifle ready, Miguel, knife glinting, Tom, Winchester cocked, Billy and Sam, pistols drawn, and Will Tanner, the runaway kid, clutching his pa's watch, his face pale as ash. Hale, the stranger claiming a debt to your pa, stands under Miguel's knife, his scarred face calm but unreadable. That cloth isn't just a marker, it's a promise, and in 1876 Texas, promises like that come with blood. You step toward the mesquite, Colt lowered but ready, the air thick with sage, smoke, and the herd's musky tang. The skull's jagged lines catch the moonlight, and you feel the crew's eyes on you, waiting for a call. Red's breath is ragged, his grazed shoulder staining his shirt. What's it mean, Jack? He asks, voice low, no trace of his usual grin. Miguel's watching Hale, knife steady, like he's one wrong word from carving answers. Tom spits, the tobacco juice hissing in the dirt. Grayson's dogs, mark my words, he growls. Or Dalton's playin' games. Will's silent, watch glinting in his fist, and you catch his flinch at Grayson's name. Hale's tail, Will's paw crossing a cattle barren, the watch tying Grayson to a land grab, sits heavy, but it's half a puzzle, and you're short on trust. That coyote howl, 7 nights back, echoes in your mind, its warning woven through the tracks, the attacks, and now this skull. Was it signaling Grayson's reach, Hale's game, or something worse? You snatch the cloth, its rough weave snagging your fingers, and hold it up. Talk, Hale. You say, voice hard. This your work, or Grayson's? Hale's eyes, chipped slate in the firelight, don't waver. Not mine, he says, slow. Grayson's men leave markers, skulls, snakes, whatever spooks a crew. Means they're close, plannin', A hit. Miguel presses the knife closer, a bead of blood welling on Hale's neck. Or your Leah Din, he hisses. Hale doesn't flinch. Kill me, and you're blind. I know Grayson's moves. Rode against him in 73. You glance at the letter in your pocket, your paws scrawl, tying Hale to a debt from 69. It feels real, but out here, paper's cheap and truth's cheaper. You turn to Will, who's shrunk against a saddle, watch clutched like a shield. Kid, you say, holding up the cloth. This mean anything to you? Your pa ever mention Grayson's markers? Will's throat bobs, eyes darting like a trapped coyote's. No, he mumbles, too fast. Pa didn't talk 'bout no skulls. Miguel snorts, stepping toward Will, knife twirling. Lies stink worse than Tom's beans, he says. Tom grunts, almost a laugh, but his Winchester's still aimed at the dark. Red's watching Will, rifle loose, his face torn, pity for the kid, doubt for his story. Billy and Sam shift, pistols up, their youth showing in their wide eyes. You raise a hand, stopping Miguel. Will, you say, voice low, you're out of rope. Grayson, the watch, your pa, spill it, or you're walkin' alone. Will's shaking, breath hitching, but he meets your eyes, something breaking loose. Pa, he worked for Grayson, he says, voice cracking. Big ranch, Fort Worth. Pa found papers, land deeds, forged, stealin' from small ranchers. Grayson's brand was on M, hidden in the watch's case. Pa was gonna tell a marshal, but Grayson's men got him first. I took the watch, ran. Didn't know they'd follow. His words spill fast, raw, and you see it. Fear, guilt, a kid carrying a man's fight. The crew's silent, the herd's lowing a distant hum. Hale nods, like Will's words fit his tale. That's why Grayson wants him, he says. Watch proves his crimes. He'll kill you all to bury it. Miguel's knife lowers, but his eyes stay hard. Why's the kid alive, then, he asks. Grayson's men ain't sloppy. Hale shrugs. Boys quick. And Grayson don't know he's with you, yet. You study Will, his sunken cheeks, the watch's faint tick cutting the quiet. His story rings true, but holes gape. Why'd he run to a cattle drive? Who were those riders he recognized? You're about to press when Billy whispers. Jack, listen. You freeze, ears straining. A faint crunch, boots on gravel, not one pair, but many, circling the camp from the wash. Gray snorts, rearing, and the herd's lowing spikes, hooves shifting fast. Rifles up, you bark, diving behind the barricade. Red's beside you, wincing as he cocks his rifle. Miguel's at the west edge, knife swapped for a pistol, eyes scanning. Tom's north, Winchester ready, muttering about damn vultures. Billy and Sam cover the east, pistols shaking but raised. Will's crouched low, clutching the watch, useless with the pistol you gave him. Hale's unbound, rifle in hand, but you're watching him close. If he's Grayson's plant, he'll show it now. The crunch grows louder, deliberate, like wolves stalking a fire. You count shadows in the wash, 6, maybe 8, rifles glinting under the moon. Not Dalton's, these are Grayson's men, you'd bet your colt, come for Will and his watch. A voice cuts through, low and gravelly, from the dark. Crow. Send the kid and the watch. Walk away, or we burn your camp. The herd's on the edge, hooves thumping, and you know one shot could spark a stampede. You glance at Will, his eyes pleading, then at Hale, who's steady, rifle aimed. Grayson's dogs, he mutters. Don't give them the kid. Red's grinning, despite the blood on his shirt. Hell, Jack, I ain't walkin' away from a fight. Tom spits. Let 'em try. Miguel's silent, but his nod says he's in. Billy and Sam look scared but hold firm. You're the call, and it's heavy. Hand over Will, save the crew, or fight and risk it all. Last chance, Crow. The voice snarls, closer now, shadows shifting. You grip your Colt, heart hammering, and make your stand. Come take him, you yell, firing a shot into the dirt, a challenge. Gunshots erupt, bullets ripping through the camp, splintering wood, kicking dust. Red's rifle barks, dropping a shadow. Miguel's shots are surgical, another falls. Tom's Winchester roars, and you fire, clipping a man's shoulder. Billy and Sam shoot wild, but it keeps the enemy ducking. Hale's firing, his shots true, but you're still watching him. The herd lurches, hoofs thundering, and you shout, "Hold the line!" praying Billy and Sam can keep them from bolting. The attackers press, closing in, their shots tearing through the barricade. A bullet grazes your arm, hot and sharp, but you keep firing, reloading with shaking hands. Will's screaming, curled tight, watch glinting like a curse. Then, a new sound, hooves, fast, from the north. Not Grayson's men, not yours. You risk a glance, and see a single rider, cloaked, charging the attacker's flank, firing a scattergun that scatters them like leaves. The enemy falters, retreating to the wash, their shouts fading. The mystery rider doesn't stop, vanishing into the dark, leaving only dust and questions. The herd still, no stampede, and the camp's a wreck, splintered packs, blood on the dirt, but everyone's breathing. Red's laughing, half crazed, blood dripping. Miguel's checking bodies, knife out. Tom's cursing, his hat shot through. Billy and Sam are wide-eyed, alive. Will's shaking, watch in hand, staring at the wash like it's a grave. You grab the cloth again, its skull mocking you, and notice something new, a folded paper, tucked in its knot, missed in the chaos. You pull it free, unfolding it in the firelight. It's a map, crude but clear, marking a canyon 10 miles north, with a single word scrawled, Grayson. Your gut sinks. Is it a trap, a taunt, or a chance to end this? Who was that rider, friend or foe? And what's Will still hiding, with his watch and his ghosts? The crew's watching, Hale's too calm, and that map feels like a fuse, burning toward a fight you can't dodge. The Texas dawns a thin scar, bleeding pink across a sky still heavy with night. The camp's a battered husk, splintered packs, bullet-scarred saddles, and a fire reduced to gray ash. You unfold the map again, its edges frayed, the canyon's crude lines stark under the rising light. The crews circled around, their breath fogging, faces etched with dust and doubt. Red's wincing, his bandage seeping, but his voice cuts through. We ridin' into that canyon, Jack? Smells like a damn ambush. Miguel's eyes are on Hale, knife twirling slow. Or a grave, he says, voice low. Who left that map? Grayson's dogs, or him? He nods at Hale, who doesn't blink, his scarred face steady as stone. Tom spits, tobacco juice splattering the dirt. Canyon's a death trap. Narrow walls, one way out. Grayson's waitin', bet my hat. Billy and Sam shift, young and antsy, their pistols glinting like they're itching to prove something. Will's silent, watch clutched tight, and you feel his secrets like a burr under your saddle. He's told you his pa crossed Grayson, found forged deeds, died for it, but his flinch at the riders last night says there's more. Hale's tale, Grayson's land grab, the watch's proof, fits, but his calm, his letter from your pa, feels too neat, like a card shark's patter. You hold up the map, voice hard. We got two paths. Follow this, maybe find Grayson, end this. Or keep north, dodge the canyon, and pray his men don't catch us. You glance at Hale. You say you know Grayson's moves. Talk. This his handiwork. Hale's eyes meet yours, slate gray and unyielding. Grayson don't leave maps, he says. He leaves bodies. Could be a traitor in his crew, leakin' his hideout. Or a lure to pin you down. He shrugs, like it's just another day, and you grit your teeth. Trusting Hale's like betting on a lame horse, but his shots last night saved your skin, maybe. Miguel steps closer, knife still. Why's Grayson scared of a watch, he asks, eyes on Will. What's it prove, boy? Will flinches, his voice a whisper. Pa said, it's got a mark inside the case. Grayson's brand, tied to the deeds. He carved it himself, hid it. I didn't look, I just ran. His eyes drop, and you see it. Shame, fear, a kid drowning in a man's war. Red snorts, half a laugh. Hell, kid, you're carryin' a death sentence and didn't even peek? That's dumber than Tom's cookin'. Tom glares, but there's a twitch of a grin, first in days. Billy and Sam chuckle, nervous, their hands never far from their guns. You're weighing Will's words, the map's weight in your hand. The West's a brutal ledger, and you're deep in its red. In 1876, Texas is a land of greed and ghosts. Civil War's end left ranchers broke, drifters mean, and barons like Grayson carving empires with blood. Cattle are king, but they draw vultures. Daltons, Comanche, storms that drown dreams. Your crew's afraid not. Red, singing past pain. Miguel, sharp as his blade. Tom, too stubborn to quit. Billy and Sam, kids with fire. Will, a spark. Hale, a shadow. You're the one holding the rope. Jack, Tom says, voice rough. We can't sit. Grayson's men'll hit again, map or no. He's right, the herd's restless, the prairie's too open, and last night's fight left you low on bullets and luck. You make the call. We ride for the canyon. Scout it, not storm it. If it's a trap, we slip out. If it's Grayson, we end this. The crew nods, grim but solid, except Will, who's staring at the map like it's his grave. You saddle Gray, his warmth steadying your hands, and check your Colt. 5 rounds left, enough for a fight, not a war. The crew mounts up, Red wincing as he swings onto his mare, Miguel gliding like a panther, Tom grumbling but fast. Billy and Sam take the herd's flanks, keeping them tight, while Will rides with Sam, head down, watch hidden. Hale's on his roan, rifle slung, and you keep him in sight, not sure if he's a shield or a snake. The trail's a slog, dust rising like a fog, the sun climbing to hammer your hat. The prairie's a sea of grass and mesquite, yucca spiking like daggers. The herd moves slow, hooves thudding, they're lowing a steady drone. Red's humming Lorena. Soft like it's for him, not the crew. Miguel's scouting ahead, his horse a blur in the heat shimmer. Tom's cursing a stray cow, his voice raw as gravel. Billy and Sam trade jabs, but their eyes scan the hills, pistols loose. Will's quiet, and you catch him rubbing the watch, like it's a prayer. By noon, the canyon's close, its red walls rising like a fortress, narrow and shadowed. Miguel signals from a ridge, pointing to tracks, fresh, heavy, leading in. Grayson's men, he says, reining in. Or someone wants us to think so. You nod, gut tight, and lead the crew to a low rise overlooking the canyon's mouth. The herd circled tight, Billy and Sam holding them, while you, Red, Miguel, Tom, and Hale creep to the edge, rifles up. The canyon's a trap waiting to spring, walls steep, floor narrow, one way out. You spot movement, 3 men, armed, near a cave mouth, their horses tethered. Not Dalton's, Grayson's crew, by their gear, heavy rifles and branded saddles. A 4th man steps out, older, broad, in a black duster, his face hidden but his stance screaming power. Grayson. Red whispers, rifle raised. Hale shakes his head. His foreman, Kessler. Mean as a rattler, twice as quick. You're about to signal a retreat, scout, not fight, when a shot cracks, not from the canyon, but behind. Sam screams, clutching his leg, blood spurting as he falls from his horse. Billy's firing wild, shouting, ambush! The herd lurches, hooves thundering, and you spin, seeing 4 riders charging from the south, rifles blazing. Grayson's men, or worse, and they've got you pinned. Canyon ahead, ambush behind, Sam bleeding, and Will's watch ticking like a fuse. You dive for cover, Colt barking, as bullets tear the dirt. Red's firing, Miguel's a blur, Tom's Winchester roaring. Hale's shots are steady, but his eyes flick to Will, who's ducked behind a rock, watch glinting, face torn with guilt. The canyon's a death trap, the ambush a hammer, and Sam's blood is on your hands. Who's the rider from last night, and why's he gone? Is Hale playing you, or is Grayson's reach this long? The fight's just begun, and you're running out of time. The Texas noon sun's a furnace, scorching the red canyon walls that loom like blood-stained fists. Dust chokes the air, thick with sage and the sharp tang of gunpowder. You reload, the Colt's cylinder clicking, your grazed arms stinging like hellfire. The herd's teetering, hooves thundering, and Billy's shouting, trying to hold them from a stampede. Grayson's men in the canyon, led by Kessler, the brutal foreman, fire from a cave mouth, their rifles precise, while the Southern riders circle, aiming to scatter the herd. The map you found, marked, Grayson, led you here, and now it's a trap sprung tight. You glance at Will, his watch a ticking curse, its hidden brand tying Grayson to forged land deeds. Hale's words, Grayson's hunt for the watch, his empire built on blood, ring true, but his steady shots don't erase your doubts. Is he your paw's ally, or Grayson's pawn? Jack. Red yells, ducking a bullet that chips the ridge. They're pushin' the herd. He fires, dropping a Southern rider, but his face is pale, blood soaking his bandage. Miguel slips beside you, pistol smoking, eyes like flint. Kessler's the key, he says, nodding at the canyon. Cut the head, the rest scatter. Tom's voice cuts through, raw as gravel. Or we're dead by sundown. He's right. Ammo's low, Sam's fading, and the herd's your only leverage. You make the call, voice sharp. Miguel, Billy, with me. Canyon. Red, Tom, hold the south. Hale, cover Sam and Will. Hale nods, rifle up, and you pray he's not playing you. Red grunts, reloading despite his pain, and Tom's Winchester barks, a Southern rider slumping. Billy scrambles to you, young face set, pistol ready. Miguel's already moving, low and fast, toward the canyon's mouth. You follow, Colt raised, heart pounding like a war drum. The West's a brutal forge, and you're hammered in its heat. In 1876, Texas is a land of raw ambition. Civil War's end left scars, ranchers broke, and barons like Grayson stealing futures with forged deeds. Cattle drives are lifeblood, but they draw death. Dalton's, Comanche, storms that bury dreams. Your crew's a frayed lifeline, Red, fighting through pain, Miguel, sharp as steel, Tom, too mean to fall, Billy and Sam, kids in a man's war, Will, a spark of truth, Hale, a question. You're no savior, just the one who won't break. The canyon's a choke point, walls narrowing, red dust swirling like blood mist. Kessler's men fire from the cave, bullets whining past, one grazing Billy's hat. You dive behind a rock, firing back, your shot clipping a man's arm. Miguel's a ghost, slipping to the side, his pistol dropping another. Billy's shots are shaky but keep them pinned. You spot Kessler, broad, black duster, face like carved oak, barking orders, his rifle spitting death. Crow! He roars, voice echoing off the walls. Give me the kid and the watch, or your herd's buzzard food. You grit your teeth, firing, missing Kessler but forcing him to duck. Come get him! You shout, buying time. Miguel signals, pointing to a ledge above the cave, a risky climb, but a shot from there could end Kessler. You nod, covering as he scrambles up, rocks skittering under his boots. Billy's firing, cursing like Tom, and you reload, 3 rounds left, sweat stinging your eyes. The herd's lowing spikes, and you hear Red's rifle from the south, Tom's shouts, Sam's weak cry. Time's a noose, tightening fast. Miguel reaches the ledge, pistol raised, but a shot cracks from the cave, and he jerks, blood blooming on his thigh. He doesn't fall, firing back, his shot grazing Kessler's shoulder. You curse, climbing to help, bullets kicking dust around you. Billy covers, his pistol barking, and you reach Miguel, dragging him behind a slab. I'm fine, he growls, reloading, but his leg's bad, blood pooling. You fire down, pinning Kessler, but the cave's a fortress, and they're not breaking. Back at camp, Red's voice cracks. Jack! Herd's goin'. You risk a glance. The Southern riders are driving the cattle, scattering them, and Red's shots are slowing, his strength fading. Tom's firing, but he's one man against three. Hale's covering Sam and Will, his rifle steady, but Will's on his feet, watch in hand, shouting, "Stop! I'll give it!" He's waving the watch, desperate, and Hale grabs him, pulling him down as a bullet whines past. "Will, stay down!" you yell, but his move shifts the fight. Kessler's men hesitate, eyes on the watch, and you seize the chance. "Miguel, now!" you shout, both of you firing from the ledge, your shots synchronized. Kessler staggers, blood spraying from his chest, and falls, his men faltering. Billy's shots drive them back, and the cave's defenders break, two running, one dropping under Miguel's pistol. You slide down, helping Miguel, his face gray but set. The canyon's quiet, dust settling, Kessler's body still. You grab his rifle, checking his duster papers, sealed with Grayson's brand, confirming forged deeds. The watch was the key, Will's truth the lock. You limp back to camp, Miguel leaning on you, Billy wide-eyed but alive. The Southern riders are gone, driven off by Tom and Red, but the herd's scattered, half a mile out, and Sam's pale, leg wrapped but bleeding bad. Red slumped, grinning despite his pain. "Told you we'd whip him, Jack." Tom's checking Sam, muttering about damn kids and their blood. Hale's with Will, who's shaking, watch still in hand. You grab it, prying open the case, and there it is, Grayson's brand, etched tiny but clear, a noose for a baron. "You're done running, kid," you say, voice soft but firm. Will nods, tears streaking his dust-caked face. Hale's watching, rifle down, and you turn to him, Colt ready. "No more games, Hale. You're with us, or you're Grayson's. Choose." He meets your eyes, scarred face unreadable, and pulls a badge from his coat, U.S. Marshal, dented but real. "Been tracking Grayson 2 years, he says. "Your pa helped me start. I'm here to finish it." The badge glints, but out here, tin's no guarantee, and you're not sold. Before you can press, Billy shouts, pointing north. A dust cloud rises, hooves thundering, not the herd, but riders, a dozen at least, armed, coming fast. Grayson's main force, or someone new. The herd's scattered, Sam's bleeding, Miguel's limping, and the watch is in your hand, a target on your back. Hale's badge, Will's truth, the canyon's blood, it's all led to this, but the fight's not over, and someone's riding to claim it all. You clutch the watch, it's brass warm, heavy with Will's truth, Grayson's forged deeds, a cattle baron's greed carved into stolen land. Kessler's papers, tucked in your coat, are a noose for Grayson, but these riders mean he's not done fighting. Your crew's scraped thin, bullets scarce, wounds deep, Sam fading fast. The herd's your last card, half its size but still worth a fortune. You turn to Hale, his marshal badge a flicker of hope or a liar's prop. "Your move, Marshal," you say, voice rough as the canyon's edge. "Grayson's men, or you playin' us?" Hale's eyes, chipped slate in the dusk, hold steady. "Grayson's last dogs," he says, calm as a preacher. "His cleanup crew, sent to bury the kid and the watch. I wired Fort Worth 3 days back. Marshals are ridin' hard, maybe an hour out. Hold him off, we walk away." His certainty grates like sand in your boots, but his shots in the canyon kept you breathing, and that badge, dented but solid, might be the difference between a grave and a sunrise. Red snorts, wincing as he shifts his rifle. "Hold him." "With what, Jack?" "Spit, prayers, and Tom's bad coffee." Tom spits, tobacco juice sizzling in the dirt, his scowl deep enough to hide a river. "Better be damn quick, Marshals, boy, or we're buzzard chow." Miguel's crouched, scanning the dust cloud, knife twirling slow, a metronome of menace. 8 minutes, maybe 10, he says, his vaquero eyes reading the rider's pace like a book. Billy and Sam tense, their pistols loose, hands steady despite their fear. Will's frozen, watch clutched like a lifeline, guilt carving lines in his young face, as if every bullet's his fault. You feel the weight of it. Will's truth about the watch, Grayson's forged empire, Hale's badge, and Tom's bloodshot glare, daring you to lead. The prairie's a brutal judge, and you're on trial. In 1876, Texas is a land of raw hunger. Civil War's end left ranchers broke, drifters mean, and barons like Grayson building kingdoms on lies and lead. Cattle are gold, but they draw death. Daltons with their quick knives, Comanches striking like shadows, storms that drown dreams in mud. Your crew's a battered shield, Red, grinning through pain, Miguel, sharp as mesquite, Tom, too ornery for death, Billy and Sam, kids forged in fire, Will, a spark of redemption, Hale, a gamble with a badge. You're no hero, just the fool dreaming of a Montana ranch, where the sky's clean and the fights are done. You make the call, voice cutting the dusk like a blade. Barricade the canyon mouth, saddles, crates, anything solid. Red, Tom, take the ridge, high ground. Miguel, Billy, with me at the wall. Hale, Sam, Will, hold the center. Keep the herd tight, no stampede, no surrender. The crew moves, fast despite their wounds, dragging packs and saddles, piling them into a low, jagged wall at the canyon's mouth. Gray snorts, tethered with the herd, his eyes on you like he knows the stakes. Red limps to the ridge, rifle slung, muttering about damn fool plans. Tom follows, his limp worse, Winchester a crutch, cursing the dust that sticks to his beard. Miguel and Billy haul a broken wagon bed, their grunts mixing with the herd's low moans. Hale helps Sam to the center, propping him against a crate, while Will scrambles to stack gear, his watch glinting, hands shaking but working. You check your Colt. 4 rounds, scavenged from Tom's spares, enough for a prayer, not a war. Your grazed arm throbs, blood crusting your sleeve, but you shove it down, helping Miguel wedge a saddle into the barricade. The canyon's red walls loom, their shadows stretching like fingers, the air thick with dust and the herd's musky tang. Billy's beside you, young face set, pistol steady despite the sweat beading his brow. We gonna make it, Jack? He asks, voice low, not quite breaking. You meet his eyes, seeing the kid who chased strays with a grin, now staring down death. We've made it this far, you say, clapping his shoulder. Ain't stoppin' now. The riders crest a rise, 12 men, rifles glinting, Grayson's brand stark on their saddles, their horses kicking dust like a storm. No bluster, no taunts. These are killers, faces carved from hardship, moving like wolves circling a wounded elk. You crouch behind the barricade, Colt raised, heart hammering like a blacksmith's anvil. Miguel's beside you, pistol steady despite his bandaged thigh, his breath slow, deliberate. Billy's gripping his pistol, knuckles white, eyes darting. Red and Tom open fire from the ridge, their shots cracking sharp, kicking dust at the riders' feet, slowing their charge but not breaking it. Hale's with Sam, rifle barking, his shots precise, while Will's crouched behind a pack, useless with the pistol you gave him, watch ticking like a countdown. The leader, a gaunt man, gray beard, eyes like coal under a battered hat, raises a hand, halting the riders 50 yards out. His horse paws the dirt, a big bay with a scarred flank, and his voice cuts through the dusk, cold as a norther. Crow. The watch, the kid, and them papers. Hand 'em over, and your boys live. Fight, and we take it all. You glance at Will, his eyes pleading, then at the papers in your coat. Grayson's forged deeds, a baron's ruin sealed in ink. Sam's breath rattles, his pistol shaking, and you know surrender's a lie. Grayson's men don't leave witnesses. You stand, Colt steady, the barricade's edge rough against your hip. You want it. You shout, voice echoing off the canyon walls. Earn it. Your shot grazes the leader's hat, sending it spinning, and the prairie erupts. Bullets tear through the barricade, splintering wood, kicking dirt that stings your eyes. You fire, dropping a rider, the Colt's recoil sharp against your palm, 3 rounds left. Miguel's shots are surgical, 2 riders slump, but his pistol clicks empty, and he draws his knife, eyes blazing like a cornered puma. Billy's firing, his bullet clipping a horse that screams and bolts, throwing its rider into the dust. Red's rifle cracks from the ridge, Tom's Winchester a relentless roar, their shots thinning the riders but not enough. A bullet clips Red's arm, blood spraying, and he curses, voice raw but still firing. Sam's shots are weak, his legs soaking the dirt red, his face gray as ash. Hale's rifle downs 3 riders, his aim cold, mechanical, and you wonder again, Marshall or Snake? The herd lurches, hooves thundering, and Billy scrambles to the flank, shouting over the chaos. "Hold him, damn it!" The cattle moan, teetering on panic, their horns glinting like a forest of blades. The riders charge, closing to 30 yards, their rifles spitting death, horses snorting clouds of dust. A bullet grazes your shoulder, hot and sharp, tearing your jacket, but you keep firing, 2 rounds left, dropping a rider who clutches his chest. Miguel's a blur, leaping the barricade, knife slashing a rider who gets too close, blood painting the dirt. Tom's shots falter, and you hear his shout, a grunt, cut short. You glance up, heart sinking, and see him fall, a bullet through his chest, his Winchester clattering, his eyes open but empty, staring at the sky. "Tom!" You roar, firing your last shot, clipping the leader's arm. He sways but stays mounted, barking orders, his men pressing harder. Red slumped, rifle jammed, blood dripping from his arm, but he's grinning, half-crazed, shouting, "Keep him runnin', Jack!" Miguel's back, limping bad, knife red, dragging a rider's rifle to you. You grab it, firing, the recoil jarring your wounded arm, dropping another man. Billy's pistol barks, his shots wild but keeping the riders ducking. Sam's slumped, pistol fallen, but Hale's covering him, his shots relentless, 4 riders left. The leader rallies, charging straight, rifle raised, and you aim the stolen rifle, heart steady despite the blood and dust. Your shot takes him through the throat, and he tumbles, his horse veering wild. The remaining riders hesitate, leaderless, and Hale seizes it, standing, badge high. "Marshals! Stand down!" he shouts, voice like thunder. It's a bluff, but it cracks their nerve. 2 riders bolt, hooves fading into the dusk. Then, from the east, new hooves, 6 riders, badges glinting, rifles raised, dust trailing like a comet. Real marshals, Hale's wire true, their shots cutting down the last of Grayson's men in a storm of lead. The fight dies, dust settling, blood pooling in the dirt, the herds lowing a mournful hymn. You stagger to Tom, kneeling by his body, his grizzled face still, his Winchester clutched like a lover. You cover him with his blanket, throat tight, his curses echoing in your mind. Damn fools, damn trails, damn heart that kept him fighting. Red limps down, arm bleeding but alive, his grin soft now, for Tom. "Old mule went out shootin'," he says, voice cracking. Miguel's cleaning his knife, thigh wound seeping, eyes distant but nodding. Billy's shaking, staring at the herd, older by years in an hour. Sam's breathing, barely, his leg a mess but his eyes open, muttering, "Got one, Jack." Hale steps forward, badge out, as the marshals rein in, their horses snorting, rifles lowered. The lead marshal, grizzled, limping like he's seen too many trails, takes the watch and papers, scanning them with a nod. "Grayson's finished," he says, voice like gravel. "Kid's a witness. He rides with us." Will's on his knees, sobbing, the watch's empty case in the dirt, its brand now with the marshals. He looks at you, eyes raw, a boy who carried a war and survived. "I didn't mean for this," he whispers, voice breaking. You kneel, gripping his shoulder, seeing the kid you were, alone, running west, chasing a dream. "You finished your pause fight," you say, soft but firm. "That's enough." He hands you the watch's case, brass scratched but light now, a burden shed. "Thanks, Jack," he says, mounting with the marshals, his thin frame straighter, eyes forward. The marshals head north, Will with them, dust trailing like a fading song. Hale offers a hand, his badge glinting, but you shake your head, Colt heavy at your hip. "Ride your own trail, Marshal," you say, voice steady. He nods, a ghost of a smile, and mounts his roan, following the marshals, his duster flapping like a crow's wings. You turn to the crew, Red, Miguel, Billy, Sam, alive but scarred, Tom's absence a hole no whiskey'll fill. You saddle Gray, his warmth a tether, and help Billy and Miguel gather the herd, smaller but enough, their horns catching the last light. The prairie stretches wide, gold and endless, its silence broken by the herd's steady hooves and Red's soft hum of Sweet Betsy from Pike, a dirge for Tom. You ride drag, dust coating your throat, the coyote howl a memory that shaped this trail, its warning of tracks, blood, and Grayson's greed now silenced by your stand. Montana's out there, a ranch under skies untouched by greed, and you'll get there. For Tom's growl, Red's grin, Miguel's steel, Billy's fire, Sam's grit, Will's courage. The herd moves, Gray's stride sure, and you don't look back, the prairie's song in your blood, a promise of trails yet to ride. Epilogue. 6 weeks later, Fort Worth's alive with dust and noise, its saloons spilling light and laughter into the night. You're at the White Elephant, a whiskey burning your throat, its oak bite grounding you. Red's at the bar, arm healed, joking with Miguel about a San Antonio card game gone wrong, their laughs loud but softer for Tom's absence. Billy's sipping sarsaparilla, eyes older, telling Sam, legs scarred but walking, about a gal in Abilene. A newspaper on the table screams, Cattle Baron Grayson jailed, land fraud exposed. Will's testimony, the watch's brand, and Kessler's papers tore Grayson's empire down, small ranchers reclaiming their claims. A letter from Hale, slipped under your glass, says Will's safe, training as a deputy in Austin, his pa's shadow fading under a badge of his own. You step outside, the saloon's din fading, Fort Worth's lanterns flickering like stars. Gray's tethered nearby, snorting as you pat his neck, his eyes catching the moonlight. You look north, where the prairie waits, vast and unclaimed. Montana's calling, a ranch, a life, a chance to build something that lasts. The trail's open, and you're not done riding, not while the sky's wide and the wind carries a howl. End of life of a cowboy in the Wild West.